Here are three powerful motivational stories that will inspire you to keep pushing forward no matter what obstacles come your way. Our first story features Eric, who endured a lot of pain at the hands of a loved one and in the end was able to let his anger go. There once was a man named Eric who had been hurt deeply by someone he loved. He had trusted this person with his heart, only to have that trust broken in the most painful way possible. Eric was consumed by bitterness and anger. Every time he thought about the person who had hurt him, he felt a surge of pain and resentment that was almost unbearable. Eric tried everything he could to numb the pain. He turned to alcohol and drugs, seeking solace in their temporary escape. But no matter how much he drank or how many drugs he took, the pain never went away. It was always there, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt at the slightest provocation. One day, Eric realized that he couldn't go on living like this. He knew that he needed to let go of his anger and bitterness if he wanted to move forward with his life. But he didn't know how. Eric decided to seek the help of a wise and compassionate mentor who taught him the power of forgiveness. The mentor told him that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what had happened or excusing the behavior of the person who had hurt him. Instead, forgiveness was about releasing the grip that the pain had on his heart and finding peace within himself. Eric was skeptical at first, but he decided to give it a try. He began to practice forgiveness, imagining himself releasing the hurt and pain into the universe. Slowly but surely, he began to feel a weight lifting from his heart. He started to feel more at ease with himself and those around him. Eventually, Eric was able to confront the person who had hurt him. He didn't do it in anger or resentment, but with a heart full of forgiveness and compassion. He was able to see the person as a fellow human being, flawed and imperfect, just like himself. To his surprise, the person he had forgiven was able to offer him a heartfelt apology. They were able to talk through their differences and come to a place of mutual understanding and forgiveness. Eric learned that the power of forgiveness wasn't just about letting go of the pain and hurt that others had caused him. It was also about acknowledging his own flaws and mistakes and seeking forgiveness from those he had wronged. Today, Eric is a changed man. He still faces challenges and difficulties in life, but he faces them with a heart full of forgiveness and compassion. He has learned that forgiveness isn't just a gift that you give to others, it's a gift that you give to yourself. It's a way of letting go of the past and moving forward with grace and humility. Our second story is about Sarah, who was able to rebuild a bridge torn down by others. Sarah had grown up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business. When she was young, her family had been involved in a bitter feud with their neighbors, the Browns. Sarah didn't know why the feud had started, but she knew that her parents hated the Browns and that hatred had been passed down to her. As she got older, Sarah started to realize that the feud wasn't worth the energy it was taking up in her life. She wanted to move on and build bridges with the Browns, but she didn't know how. She felt too awkward and embarrassed to approach them directly. One day, Sarah heard that the Brown's daughter, Emily, was going to be in the same class as her at school. Sarah dreaded the thought of being in the same room as Emily, but she knew that this was an opportunity to try to make things right. Sarah decided to write Emily a letter, apologizing for the feud and asking if they could start over. She was nervous about sending it, but she knew it was the right thing to do. To her surprise, Emily responded with a letter of her own. She said that she had always wanted to be friends with Sarah, but the feud had made it impossible. She was thrilled that Sarah had reached out, and she wanted to try to build a bridge between their families. Over the next few months, Sarah and Emily started spending time together. They discovered that they had a lot in common, and they became fast friends. Sarah's parents were initially skeptical, but they could see how happy their daughter was, and they started to soften towards the Browns. One day, Sarah invited Emily and her family over for a barbecue. Sarah's parents were nervous, but they put on a brave face and welcomed the Browns into their home. To everyone's surprise, the barbecue was a huge success. Sarah's parents and the Browns laughed and talked like old friends. It was as if the feud had never happened. After that day, Sarah's family and the Browns started spending more time together. They realized that they had a lot more in common than they had ever imagined. They were all just people trying to do their best in a complicated world. Sarah learned that building bridges wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. She was grateful for Emily's friendship and for the opportunity to heal the wounds of the past. She realized that sometimes all it took to build a bridge was a simple gesture of kindness and a willingness to let go of old grudges. Finally, our third story showcases Jacob, who had to work hard at rebuilding his life. Jacob had hit rock bottom. He was homeless and had hit a dead end in life. He had no family, no friends, and no job. All he had was a small backpack with a few belongings and a shattered spirit. Jacob was wandering the streets aimlessly when he came across a homeless shelter. As he walked in, he was greeted by a friendly volunteer who showed him around and explained how the shelter worked. Jacob was hesitant at first, but he realized that he had nothing to lose. Over the next few weeks, Jacob started to feel a sense of community in the shelter. He began to make friends and participate in the various programs offered. He started volunteering at a local soup kitchen and was even able to find a part-time job. Although it wasn't much, it was a start. As Jacob started to rebuild his life, he began to realize that he had a passion for helping others who were in similar situations to him. He had experienced firsthand the pain and hardships of being homeless, and he wanted to use this experience to make a difference. Jacob started volunteering more and more, and eventually he landed a job at the homeless shelter where he had first found help. He worked tirelessly to make sure that every person who walked through the doors of the shelter was greeted with kindness and compassion. As time went on, Jacob's hard work and dedication paid off. He was able to save enough money to get his own apartment and was eventually promoted to a leadership role at the shelter. He had gone from being homeless and hopeless to being a beacon of hope for others who were in similar situations. Jacob realized that his journey from being homeless to hopeful had taught him an important lesson. He learned that no matter how difficult life may seem, there is always hope. He knew that his past struggles had given him a unique perspective and an opportunity to help others who were going through similar challenges. Today, Jacob continues to work at the homeless shelter, inspiring and motivating others to find hope in the darkest of moments. He knows that his journey was not easy, but it was worth it. He is grateful for the second chance he was given and the opportunity to turn his life around.